Molweni, Ndingudumo Jebese Mfenqa, and once again, welcome to my YouTube channel. You know, yeah, I think it's when you find yourself doing something that you never thought you would do. You would always watch people going, "Welcome to my YouTube channel," people having different catch-up, phrases to start and everything, and you just said into enzima kakhulu nekude kakhulu nawe, and I think at times you are overwhelmed by isense yokuzibalela, because sometimes when you go into social networks or social media, you can see how brutal society can be. Abantu lo will dish it to you, ithanda ungayithandi. Was abantu are so inconsiderate, and at times you end up holding back and feeling like, I can't. um but in actual fact, akuyondlela uphila leyo. Singabantu, and we just need to pray and work towards a space and a zone wherein we can just fully be understanding that we live in a society that won't just be 100% accepting of who we are. So despite or in spite of what society might then be saying or doing, we need to get to a zone of fully accepting who we are and what we have to offer to the world, and be ready to deliver it regardless of ukuba azoba mangakanani amatye esizophoswa ngayo, and understand that when those stones are being thrown at us, we indeed have to learn the art of grabbing them and using them to be building blocks of insika esizawumila ngazo. Because the truth is, a lot of people are called for greatness, but they're not tapping into their greatness simply because of how ill our society has become, how brutal our society has become. So yeah, well, it's just a random thought, dear friends. So today I just wanted us to sum up what we have been talking about around the parental side of the responsibility, kule parent-child relationship. We have tapped, or we have explored certain topics that are about the parent. Asizigqibanga. There is so much more. There is so much more, guys, but we just picked on some of them. Ezizinto esithi mzali, caregiver, guardian. Watch these things. So I will just reflect on them. Zithandwa zam, we've spoken about self-awareness. I think we explored that topic fully. We spoke in detail. We spoke in length about the self-awareness. Mzali zazi. Zazi ungumzali. All right. We spoke about childhood traumas, understanding how your own childhood traumas as a parent will impact or influence how you in turn parent your own children, how you raise your children. So we have spoken as well in great length about that. We have also gone on to talk about background. We've spoken about what background can do to an individual. Remember, we are shaped by how we are socialized. We are shaped by where we come from. We are shaped by our experiences, the teachings that have been imparted on us. We have said, as umzali, as a parent, as a guardian, as a caregiver to a child, if you have been entrusted with a soul to raise, please, please go and explore what your background is like. Check what your background has done to you. Be aware, be present, be intentional about acknowledging what your background is like, what has happened background yakho that is influencing the person that we are seeing today, because that will also influence how you are going to be raising children. It's going to influence the relationship that you are going to have with your children. We looked at faith and belief systems and how much of a role they play in parenting. Okay, so we have said, parents, be sincere about your belief system, be authentic about your religious beliefs, and make them known to your child, understanding that in their own journey of becoming, they may identify with a different religion, and they remain your children even when they do that. We even said, If it so happens that even in your own journey, you convert from one faith or belief system to another, don't overwhelm your children. Have a room to understand how you will usher them into understanding the transition that you are going through in your own life as a parent. We then spoke as well in length about conflicts between parents and families. Ebetunana, I think when we get to that one, it worries me. It concerns me because families, parents are using children as weapons to fight their battles, to get back at people, all those things. And that shouldn't be the case. Fight your battles, fight your demons, but don't use your child. The dilemma and the predicament you are putting children in when you are making them stuck in the middle, torn between people they love and appreciate, and you make them feel like bazi weapons of mass destruction. That needs to stop. You are wounding the future of your child. It's not about hurting the other party. It's about how much you are breaking your child into pieces in the process. Fight your own battles in your own way, but don't use abantwana as weapons. Okay. So finally, as we close the aspect of looking at icala lomzali, there's just 3 things I want us to talk about, okay? That I would like to conclude, the perspective of the parent with detailing or summing up before we move to saying, looking at the child now, before we get to saying the parent and the child. We are now summing up icala lomzali. Sizawuhamba sithi nanku umntwana. And then ultimately sizawuthi singabayelo as a unit, parent child. Okay? So the one that I would like us to talk about today briefly is that do not expect yourself to be a perfect parent, but ensure that you give it your best shot at all times. Sometimes, we are so torn and we overstretch ourselves in trying to be the perfect version of a parent. You try to almost compare with others indirectly, but without knowing that you are comparing. You have this book of life, this checklist, this bucket list that you have created that kind of says, here is an ideal parent. Here is a perfect version of a parent. And do you know what? That perfect ideal picture is influenced by that lack of self-awareness. It's influenced by that childhood trauma. It's influenced by that background. It's influenced by that unresolved anger. It's, all those things. They come together and they start to create an idea of who a parent should be. So in your efforts of giving your child the best, don't be in a space of competing with God knows what or God knows who into saying, I need to be a perfect parent. Because when things don't go well, it is going to feel as though the child is letting you down. The child is not appreciating your perfect methods. When things don't go well, you're going to feel as if you have not been perfect enough. And that is what we need to avoid. Give it your best. Let it be a fulfilling journey of being a parent. I met a very interesting young fellow flying to Joburg the other day. And, our conversation, we kind of clicked, and our conversation just, I don't know, we moved from this topic to another in just, we were up and talking the entire flight. And it got to a point where, as I was talking to him, I said to this fellow, a child is a responsibility, 100%. We can't take that away. It's a beautiful blessing that gets bestowed on certain people that God entrusts with raising children. It could be children they've given to by birth. It could be children that they have adopted, abantwana that they have inherited. Ngendlela. But God trusts those people to say, you can be a parent. Now I'm saying it's an amazing responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. It's a big task. But parents need to get to a point of understanding that at times it's not just about your responsibility to the child, but the child is presenting you an opportunity of also pouring into you. And an example that I made for him was my nieces and nephews. They have made my life so full. My in-laws' kids, they've made my life so full. My daughter that I have inherited through my husband has made my life so full. And what I've realized is that in my moments of emptiness, these little ones have come in. I would be so surprised when my nephew would give me a call and he would go, Magazi, I just wanted to check on you. And then he would go, why is your voice so low? And he would then start pouring into me some jokes, some of his school, friend stories, and before I know it, I would be laughing. I would be smiling. I was telling him, even in a moment when I was hit hard by anxiety and I was going through some depressive states, and calls from these kids would light up my darkest days. And it made me realize that the life of pouring into a child has got amazing returns, because they tend to also come back in turn and pour into you. Spiritually, emotionally, in ways you wouldn't comprehend. They are able to pull you out of the darkest pit. So realize that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to give it your best. Do what you can. There's an advert where they say you should know, I'm not sure what they're advertising, but they say there'll always be a better mom than you, a better cook than you, taller than you, shorter than you, prettier than you, da da da. So if you look at the world and you reference the world, there'll always be something that seems like a better version of you, but there's only one you. You are unique as a parent, and you are the one who has been chosen to pour into those souls that are assigned to you. So do you in the best way you know how. And understand that you are merely a coach. And the kids are the players when it comes to their own lives. So coach, do your best. Do your best. Second one, my dear friends. Parenting is not a competition. Youngsters, parenting is not a competition. Our parents didn't raise us ngathi bayacompete. But with us and those that come after us, and I think a generation or two before us, there's a lot of competition. Competing with siblings, competing with friends, competing with other relatives. Hey, it's not a competition. We can all learn from each other, because children are beings. These are souls. These are people. So it's not a competition. It's not a race. You need to find what is it exactly that is going to drive you to impart what you need to impart on your child. And competition is not one of them. It's not about how well you dress them. It's not about how well what form of education you give them. Do the best of what you can afford. And understand that money is important, but it doesn't begin and end with it. So give your child a full combo of what you can afford. Don't compete. People are getting into debt trying to give children lifestyles that they cannot afford. Capitalizing with monetary compensation beyond giving a child love, value system, teaching child or children things that are going to sustain them with or without you. If there's anything we learned from COVID, is that we can lose those we loved like that. What is that that's going to happen to your children if you were to leave? What are you imparting in them? Teaching children to be competitive unnecessarily. There are things children can learn good, valuable, competitive spirits in. They join sports, they join different activities, they learn constructive competitiveness and not unnecessary bickering and competition of start, when the other friend is looking that way, you're telling your child, you start to instill all these filthy belief systems on children because you are competing. Let us stop it. And it starts with me. It starts with you. You stop it. The next one hears me and they stop it. I stop it. Make it stop. Make it end. You competition. Unnecessary competition when we have a responsibility to raise children and ensure that they grow to be law-abiding citizens in a nation that is filled with so much crime, with so much hate, with so much pain, with so much sorrow. Impart compassion, love, willingness to work hard. Impart all these other things that are going to build your child into a solid being in future, who will survive with or without you, who will be able to live with other people in harmony, who will strive to work very hard and build a future that is going to be solid and that is going to sustain them and that is going to ensure that they are law-abiding citizens who contribute to this world. Competition. That's not what we're about. It is never a competition. Last one, we are running out of time. Adopt a parenting style. You must know, how are we raising kids in this household? Learn parenting skills. It's everywhere. You look at some, you know how you were raised, you know what you would like to tweak, you know what you would like to change. Because remember, there is no formula. I'm not even coming here to act smart and pretend like there's a one-size-fits-all formula to raising children. It's not there. Which is why you will find that what works with child A doesn't work with child B. So you sometimes have to adapt here and there and understand. I will keep on emphasizing this. Children are also in their own journey of becoming. In the same way you have walked your own path to get to where you are still walking your own path to get to where you are heading. The same applies to our children. They're in their journey of becoming. So, as parents, let us adopt parenting styles. Let's know, how are we instilling discipline? How are we instilling a value system to abantwana bethu? Let us also, be able to set boundaries, set rules, so that our children can understand that we operate within certain rules, even in understanding that we're giving them liberty and freedom to explore and grow and diversify. But we also need to ensure that they have an understanding that we operate within a system, and each system that we operate in has some parameters. So it's quite something that we are going to look at as we are looking at the view okanye from the side of the children to say, when we are figuring our children out, if identifying their personalities, their character, this, that, how does it then tie with what we have called our parenting skills, or our parenting styles? So, my dear friends, we will look at those, but it's important within the family to identify how we want to parent our children, how we set the rules, how we set boundaries, and how we govern this institution that we call. Remember, every institution needs to have governance, and the governance of your household rests with you as the parent. So I want us to, as we dive into looking at the child's perspective, also have that at the back of our mind. Thank you so much, friends, for joining me once again. I do look forward to us diving a bit more and going into other aspects of our parent-child relationship. Thank you. Be blessed. And till next time, I love you.